Casey, you ready? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robert Clifford, Senior Partner at Clifford Law in Chicago. I serve as lead counsel in the ET 302 litigation pending in the federal court in Chicago. Today we had a meeting with the Department of Justice whereby the department told the families their plans going forward with further prosecution about Boeing. This was an informational session where the department sought the input from counsel as well as all the families from around the world. There were family members present in person as well as on Zoom. The passengers on that crash were from 35 different nations around the world, and they were well represented today by their loved ones who were on Zoom and in person. The plan today was to listen to what the department had to offer, but more importantly, the families had an opportunity to express their goals against Boeing and to demand that the Department of Justice continue to prosecute Boeing and go forward with a trial as expeditiously as possible in Fort Worth, Texas, before Judge Reed O'Connor. We were given the opportunity to speak our minds. We did. We supplied the department with further legal analysis about how they should proceed. Prosecutors, in true fashion, were a bit tight-lipped about their intentions, but they represent to us in good faith that their investigation and analysis continues, and we'll take them at their word. But make no doubt about it, what the families want: Boeing engaged in criminal conduct that should be properly prosecuted and penalized. That's the position of the families from around the world. 346 people needlessly died, and others could have died as well had steps not been taken to ground those planes. So today with me are some family members. I believe they would like to speak with you. Let me call upon them right now for anyone who might want to do so. Right? You want to have right? Okay. Luca, would you like to say something to the families, to the media? This is Mr. Luca Dici, who lost his brother Paolo from Italy. Paolo survived by his wife and 2 children, and as well as his family members, including Luca's brother and sister Nella in Rome, Italy. Luca?
Thank you. Just say a few words. First of all, I wanted to thank our legal team. It's terrific. Professor Cassell, Bob, Clifford, and all of them have really done a marvelous job. The second thing I'd like to say is that I am honored to be part of a distinguished group of families who have worked tirelessly for 3.5 years, if not more, to see that we find some justice. I am totally in awe of the dedication of this group of family. I have nothing else to say except that they are the ones who are really making it happen. Thank you so much, all of you.
Chris? Mr. Chris Moore, who lost his daughter.
My name is Chris Moore, Chris Moore. My daughter is Danielle Moore. I just want to say that the DPA that was agreed to between the Department of Justice and Boeing was illegally concocted, and it was a very specific area of address, basically looking at just the Faulkner aspect, but the entire cert plan for the MCAS was fraudulent, and that's a criminal act. There's so much information out there that they have, the Department of Justice has, that they can prosecute Boeing and Boeing individuals. And so I have to have some faith that the Department of Justice is going to do the right thing, because their sole intent is to ensure that justice prevails. And that means providing all the evidence, putting it on the table, and prosecuting the individuals. There's enough information out there that individuals can be held accountable, and that's exactly what we want. We don't want to have, we want to have people, executives, and we want to have managers to face their time in court and to defend their actions, which were, as far as I'm concerned, indefensible. And we need to have that day in court. We need to have the truth. We need to have transparency. And that is the only way that justice will prevail. Thank you.
Michael, would you like to say something? This is Mr. Michael Stumo, who, along with his son Tor, is here today. They lost their beautiful sister Samia, survived by Michael, Tor, Anand, and Nadia, mother Nadia. Michael?
This is my son Torlif, Samia's brother. So we're glad that the Justice Department breached Boeing. It's the only decision they could make. Boeing promised 3 years ago to not commit any more frauds. They promised to implement an anti-fraud compliance system throughout the company that was supported openly and visibly by their board members, by their senior executives, by their middle management, and that was effective. And they didn't. Every settlement they've made in the past 10 to 15 years, they've lied. They've promised very impressive technical jargon, well-outlined logical things of how they're going to fix it. You wonder what they were doing before those well-outlined logical things, but they never did them afterwards either. We never saw Dave Calhoun give open, visible support to anti-fraud compliance culture in Boeing. Nobody else did. We never saw the board chair, Kelleher. We never saw the other board members do it. We never saw Mike Delaney, the chief safety officer, give open, visible support for anti-fraud compliance culture in Boeing. Instead, Delaney lobbied to weaken safety rules in Congress. Instead, they claimed the MAX is completely safe. It's the most scrutinized plane ever, even as the doors blow off on the Alaska Air and they can't blame the pilots anymore. This is, Justice Department has now figured out that they cannot join hands with Boeing and fight the victims in the biggest corporate crime, the corporate crime that's caused the most deaths in American history. We have asked that they prosecute Boeing, that they go after Muhlenberg personally, because so far he gets a big check, goes and gets another gig running a SPAC, which also failed, and he's never had to, the shareholders paid for his mistakes. We want Muhlenberg. He should get prison time for being the lead conspirator in this multi-year conspiracy to defraud the FAA and kill 346 people, including Samia. We want a sentencing hearing where we get to put on the record all the bad acts of this repeat offender Boeing. Even during the DPA, they were committing frauds in South Carolina, falsifying records that they did tests where they joined the wing and the fuselage. There's dozens of plane affected. They falsified tests that were never done. All the whistleblowers that came in wanted to report safety violations, and their managers forcibly prevented them from doing it. That's the Boeing culture. If any of you were the CEO, you would clean house now. You would find out who did it and they would be out. And you would reward people for doing the right thing. They didn't do that. So the Justice Department has a chance now to fix it, to prosecute Boeing, to go for a heavy sentence, to go for probation, terms of probation that really truly force Boeing to clean house, because it will be too expensive in many ways for them to do otherwise. And that's what we hope to accomplish.
say something?
Yeah, thank you.
This is Mr. Ike Riffle and his wife Susan. They lost their two sons, two adult sons in this crash, leaving a widow and a child and a family in total despair about what occurred needlessly. Preventable crash.
Yep. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm Mike Riffle. This is my wife, Susan. Our two sons were on ET 302 when it crashed in the desert. Um, my older son's wife was pregnant at the time. He never saw his daughter. And she's doing very well right now, we have to say. She's what would you say, Susan? I don't know. But yeah, I think, I think the crazy thing about this is these crashes happened 5 years ago, and when we found out this meeting today, still we don't know what even charges are going to be brought up against Boeing, or even if charges will be brought up against Boeing. It was you know they've the DOJ has wasted the last 3 years with the DPA. I believe it was time when they could have been working towards a resolution and getting getting a hearing, doing things right, and maybe we wouldn't have the problems with Boeing that we're having today. But right now we're 3 years further down the road, and nothing has changed. Um, it is. We were in the meeting today. My hope was today that we would have got some hint of what the Justice Department planned to do, what their next step was. I don't think we really heard anything. We did push for it. We want a public trial. I want a public trial of the individuals that caused this fraud, caused these accidents to happen with their fraudulent behavior. Um, I guess I know that is going to be very difficult, and I think one of the problems is with Boeing too, is there's a lot of good people that work for Boeing company. There's a lot of good people in Boeing that want to do the right thing, and this and all this reflects very badly on them, and that's why I think we need to go after the individuals that caused this fraud and put them in prison where they belong. Susan, do you have anything?
Well, I think, the focus has been on Boeing Corporation, the corporation. The DPA is with the corporation. And like my husband said, it's individuals within that corporation that are really responsible for what happened. It's like, why did we have to wake up 5 years ago on a Sunday morning to get a call from someone in Ethiopia that our two boys were on a plane that crashed? And 5 years later, we still don't have the answers as to really what happened. Who made decisions to allow such a catastrophe? So we just want some justice. So thank you.
Mrs. Moore.
My name is Claris Moore, and this is my daughter, Danielle Moore. Danielle was just 24 years old when she was killed by Boeing Max in Ethiopia. She's one of the UN delegates that was sent by Canada. Sitting there today in the court, in the hearing, in the meeting, it's hard for after 5 years when you are thinking that Department of Justice will do something to give justice to those people that died, including my daughter, and yet at the end of the day, you're still back to square one. Justice was not served. I came today, actually we drove from Canada because my husband doesn't fly anymore since the crash. All we wanted is three things. We want the answer. We want the truth. We want the justice. And we want someone to be prosecuted. Not only Boeing. Because to me, the people that works on that Boeing the leader of that person, Wallenberg, Birami, Calhoun, they are responsible. They have to be in court. If I've been running around for these 5 years and I haven't seen them in court, I want that. Even if they find guilty, I want their day in court. Thank you.
I think that concludes the family member remarks. Going forward, on July 7th is a very important day. By that time, there will be proceedings before Judge Reed O'Connor in Fort Worth, Texas. We'll know certainly in advance of that what exactly the government's plans are for further prosecution of Boeing. We will continue to be in touch with them about that. And we will continue to urge that strong prosecution of individuals, whether it's Mullenberg only or others included. And then finally, on November 12th, there will be a civil trial beginning before Judge Alonzo, Jorge Luis Alonzo, in the Northern District Federal Court in Illinois, right in Chicago, downtown Chicago. And that's of some of the cases. 6 cases will be scheduled for trial from the crash victims of ET 302, and we will go forward with a civil jury trial at that time, 2 cases at a time until all 6 are completed. So if anyone has any questions, we'll take them. Otherwise, we are complete. Yes, ma'am.
Can you compare the meeting today with the meeting in April? Did you learn anything more? I don't know if the families want to talk about, was the tone different? Was anything different today compared to last
Well, having participated in both, I think today was a very intense meeting. The families were very strong and assertive in their determination to urge the Justice Department to have a prosecution of Boeing and not negotiate some plea deal that just takes us back to the DPA. The families want a day of reckoning in front of a jury so that the public knows the criminality of the conduct that led to the needless loss of 346 lives. I think it's probably fair to say I thought there were more members of the Justice Department team in attendance, which I personally took as a good sign. We'll see, but a very intense meeting, and I think nothing was left on the table by the families in terms of what they were telling the Justice Department to be their goals. Okay.
More about what they allege Boeing did to violate the DPA?
No. We pushed for that, and they were very limiting in what they told us.
Anything about timing in DOJ? Any sense of? You mentioned July 7th.
Well, July 7th. There's a window. They have about 5 weeks to figure out exactly what they're doing.
Did they say that, or that's based on your?
Well, they said that, and it's also just a calculation. So.
Bob, can you take a step back and talk about what's at stake here? In this case, what's the bigger picture?
The government heard today that there is a belief both here in America and around the world that the justice system is not working well for people like the families of Lion Air and ET 302. That the justice system has favored a big corporate member of the American commerce community, that justice was not served, it was compromised, that people got a pass who didn't deserve it, that there was not a full and complete investigation of the information that was available that would have disclosed the full and complete claims of criminal conduct. And look, the family members, obviously prosecution decisions are for the government, whether it's at the federal level or state level, but the family members expect that when the government decides not to prosecute someone, they've got a reasonable and complete factual basis for making those decisions. And we claim and believe and have told the government that they did not. Their investigation is incomplete. They need more information. They need a thorough review of the true facts that led to the needless loss of these lives.
There are behind-the-scenes conversations between Boeing and Justice Department officials?
I have no basis for saying that. I mean, there are a lot of shadows and trees that we could chase, but we have no basis for but you know, Boeing is a big company. They have, last I heard, they have about 300 lobbyists here in Washington D.C.
How many family members participated today?
I would say here and in person, probably 40, maybe 40. There was a big showing, but all were represented here by counsel from both cases. So actually, 346 people were here today. Certainly in spirit.
Showing in April? Is it the same, smaller?
About
bigger?
the same.
About the same.
All right, thank you. We're done. Okay, we're done. We're a wrap. Hi. Okay.
Nice to meet you
Nice to
officially.
meet you too. Thank you.
Sorry, I just like ran up to you. It's like, here's the show.
Okay.
Excellent. Hey, Joel, how are you?
Hi. How you doing? Good to see you.
Like overall, like, do we want to issue a statement on?
Well, there's a press release involved and others together. So.
Awesome.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Thanks.
All right, don't worry.